I'd like to call the meeting of the Select Board to order at 5:05 p.m. and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Do we have any items to add or delete to the agenda? No, I don't think we do. So I'm going to move on to the administrative matters. I'd like to.
Wait, I'm sorry. Megan, could you just move to accept the agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the agenda.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I'd like to move that we approve the orders for June 9th in the amount of $29,065.40 and payroll for June 7th for $14,644.85.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes from last month's the Select Board Meeting, May 27th, 2025.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I don't believe we have any announcements this week. The training is going to happen right after this meeting. So we are time now for public comments, but I don't know if anybody's on.
We don't have anyone online.
We don't have anybody on. Okay. Moving forward to the Rutland County Sheriff's contract for 26. Do you want to just tell us any changes from last year, Sarah?
Yeah, the only change is the rate change, which they provided to us last fall during budget process. So we have accurately budgeted that in the fiscal year 26 budget. And so
I don't have the numbers you gave us last meeting in front of me. Are we doing all right? We're doing all right on our budget year to date?
yes,
With the sheriff?
we are. Yes.
Okay, good.
It was just the revenue that's been down, but the expense of the number of hours is correct. And so this new contract for fiscal year 26 is capped at amount not to exceed $93,899, and that is what we have budgeted.
Okay. And
Other than
the
contract.
Were you able to have a meeting with him? With
No, I posed. No, he just submitted this contract. I have posed the question to him about when we can get on the schedule for the mobile radar unit to be placed on Route 4, and I have not heard back with a schedule on when that might be available. So I will follow up.
Okay. The next thing on the agenda is the update on the dry hydrant replacement project. So why don't you go ahead and fill these, since Chris isn't here.
Do you want a motion on the, do you want me to move?
Yeah,
okay, yeah. So I'll move that we approve the law enforcement contract with the town of Mendon and the Rutland County Sheriff's Department for July 1, 2025 through June 30, 2026.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. Before you go on, can I just say thank you?
For what?
Just a thank you.
Yes. Thank you for our savior over there.
Always being very helpful.
Yes. Not just at meetings.
Yes.
Oh.
I see him on the road sometimes. Even this week I saw him pulled over and diligently patrolling our town.
Absolutely.
We tell anybody that'll listen that we're very happy with our sheriff.
So I'll let the minutes reflect that the select board is thanking the Rutland County Sheriff for a job well done.
Yes, and when you submit the contract back, if you could make note to them that we are very pleased with who is assigned to our
Correct.
Okay. Sarah, since these guys weren't at the meeting last week, if you want to bring them up to speed just quickly on the dry hydrant replacement projects.
Yeah, and Seth, pipe in as well because you were at that meeting. So as I understand it, there were 3 projects identified with Woodard Road, Journey's End, and the Upper Pond Road, dry hydrant.
Eastridge.
Right, in Eastridge. After discussions with Bill Lovett, the Rutland City Fire Department, and Troy Dare, they have determined that dry hydrant is still functioning in a current capacity that they would have the ability to put out fire. So that one is coming off of the replacement schedule at this time. That's not to say that might not happen in the future, but as of right now, the rate per minute seemed to the fire department at a sufficient level that we can remove that from the construction list. So
Are we gonna make them aware of that? Rich Carlson as chair of that organization?
Yes, we certainly can do that. We're approaching the time that they're going to be testing the dry hydrants again. So it would be good to report to them what the current rate per minute is for the that they test annually, and we can report all of that to them.
Yeah, because I'm sure
Yep.
Rich will be interested in that information.
Sure. So that moves us on to Woodard Road. Woodard Road is a project that we have been talking extensively about for the last few years. So that was the easiest one to come up with our scope of work and marching orders. We need to contact Zapata Garage from as the wetlands permit specialist in order to get a wetland permit for that location. And then between the town of Mendon and Seth and Chris, they will be determining what the scope of work is for that particular project so that we can go out to bid. Seth, did you have any other detail on that particular project that you wanted to share? Or
On that particular one, no, Sarah. It was just waiting to speak with Sabata, and Troy Dare was actually going to contact himself, because he has dealt with her before. It's more the Journey's End one that's going to be the tricky one that has a few different options, I would say.
Right. So Journey's End. You want to? Does anyone have any questions about Woodard Road?
Yeah. No. You guys have any questions on Woodard Road?
No. So how much money was in our budget for that third one? Or is it in one of the, was it coming out of one of the accruals?
So we had anticipated that each one of the projects was going to cost somewhere around 25,000. Some might be higher or lower, and it's still up in the air how much funding we're going to be able to get from the Rural Fire Protection Task Force grant.
Okay.
That can be anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000. So we have set aside these funds in the Public Safety Reserve Fund.
Reserve fund, yeah.
Okay.
So it's nothing that has to be spent before June 30th or we lose our budget. It is budgeted in the Public Safety Reserve Fund.
Okay. And do we have any other projects on our kind of, wish list for safety in the town or in the office that we should start thinking about if that money becomes available?
Yeah, the next project as far as public safety would be those radar feedback signs if we were going to purchase additional ones or if we had to pay for the installation of those signs. That would be an expense out of that fund. And also, the garage is designated our second location for a shelter besides the town office. So if we needed to use that as either a shelter or an incident command post, we would need a generator. So right now there's a portable generator, but if we, we would be looking for grants to help fund the installation of a hardwired generator similar to the one we installed in the town office.
Okay, well, it's just good to think about that stuff in the future, that money isn't
Yeah.
needed. How much do we put in that
Yeah.
fund every year?
I think we put in $500 a year. I don't have that exact number in
Okay,
front of
that's
us,
fine.
but
I just,
that fund is also funded by 20% of the fines that is received with law enforcement also goes into that fund. So 80% goes into the general fund and 20% goes into the reserve fund. Now, after we discussed at the last meeting that law enforcement fines are down, and the reason for that is because the state continues to take a greater percentage of the fine and not passing them back to the municipality.
Got it.
The state changed their reimbursement rates.
Okay, well, it seems like the enforcement between the sheriff and the state police, the enforcement's definitely up in Mendon. From what I've noticed.
Yeah, and it's tricky because it can take anywhere between 3 to 6 months to see that revenue come back to the town.
Yeah. Okay, a couple things, Sarah, I don't know if you've been made aware, well, you have, because we got the email about the dog that's running loose on Wheelerville and down into South Mendon Road.
No, I don't think I did.
Well,
Okay, so.
Megan, can I interrupt you? We just have one more dry hydrant to talk about.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. We just want to give you the update on Journey's End.
Okay.
Journey's End has an existing pipe that they looked at relocating to a different location in order to mitigate the lift that the truck has to pump the water from the pond up to the road where they would be filling trucks. And Bill Lovett, in testing it, has said that he's not able to test it because there's not a good enough seal for him to draw water from that location. So, and Seth, you could probably speak a little bit more about the specifics. But the landowner was there. We would need landowner permission to move the standpipe location. So they both discussed moving the standpipe closer to the resident's driveway or leaving it where it is, and what would be involved with both of those projects, either location.
Yeah, so I can give a little bit more on that. It just, the pipe is so deep that it's too much lift for their hoses to pull, basically. So they can't get a prime. So there's possibility that the pipe could be broken because it is older Schedule 40 pipe that they now use a thicker wall pipe for the riser. So there is a possibility that it could be broken at somewhere in that area. So it could be checked or dug and checked to see if that is causing a problem. Even if that is fixed though, the depth is too much. So there's only one other location on site at Pryor's, and it's like right next to her driveway. So instead of being up next to the road, the trucks would utilize her driveway and we'd have to push out and make a little smaller parking area, which then also causes problems for snow removal for her driveway. So it's a really, really tricky situation there. I don't know if we're even going to be able to come up with a proper result in the end, is what we've come up with, right, Sarah? I mean, that's.
But if we can't,
And so the property owner has expressed that the second location, some of her concerns are that her current driveway is not constructed to hold a fire truck, and that if there was damage to her driveway. So, with that location would require a reconstruction of her driveway in order to handle the weight of a fire truck.
Is she okay with that, Sarah?
As of right now, she has directed the town that she would prefer that they look at repairing the other location, the original location.
Okay.
If that is not able to be done, and that we're looking at eliminating the dry hydrant, then I think we could possibly go back to her and find out how to appease some of her concerns.
Okay, understood.
Either way, with the reconstruction of the Woodard Road culvert or the dry hydrant, when we installed the Vista View dry hydrant, the access to it on the fire truck is usually part of the replacement or repair of the dry hydrant. This one happens to be on private property versus Woodard Road is on town property and Vista View is in the state's right of way. But the access for the truck is typically part of the scope of work for the project.
And it's actually one of the biggest issues on Woodard Road too, right now.
Right, access. Yeah, access to the food event. And making sure that we can appease both what the fire department needs to load the truck from the side of the truck, and also that we're in a class 2 wetland at that area. So we have a state permit that we have to get. No, they're both work in progress. Seth, did they say that they were meeting Wednesday again?
I had not heard that, but I will contact Chris tomorrow morning and see if that's the case.
Okay.
I was
didn't
just
have
kind
details either.
Chris was gonna contact Troy, or Troy was gonna contact Zapata, and then get back with Chris. And so last I had heard, they had not done that just yet. So I'm not sure if that had changed since last week. But
Yeah, I think I was copied in on an email that they're setting up a meeting for Wednesday. So I'll follow up on that and I'll let you know.
okay, great.
Now you can move on.
okay. I forgot. I heard a lot about these dry hydrants over the last week. I forgot that everybody was privy to that information. So there is a dog that has received complaints. The owner it's up on Wheelerville, but one complaint said he had a collar, a leash on, but was not being held on his leash. He nipped somebody, right, Sarah? He bit somebody?
Yes, that was a complaint for.
And he's made it down to South Mendon Road.
Oh, wow. Down Notch Road.
Yeah, so they think that he's not a Mendon resident possibly, that just maybe comes up and uses Wheelerville.
Yeah.
And so, Rod has come in and told Jesse about it, but he hasn't submitted anything in writing. So, my feeling is that we should ask Rod to send a report to the select board and then we could pass it on to the sheriff's department, as, what did you call that, Sarah, as the
Enforcement
Enforcement
officer.
enforcement agency?
Yep.
But it's currently under
The
this,
old one, because the new one.
because the new one isn't effective yet.
Yeah.
But, so, since you seem to know a lot about this subject, do you feel like that's sufficient if we have Rod submit a report to us? And then we pass it on to the sheriff?
Refer it, yeah.
Okay.
Has he figured out who it is yet? Or do we not know?
We don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think coincidentally, it's the same dog that was mentioned in that health complaint by the people that stayed in the Airbnb on South Mendon Road. So I should ask Trish about that, because one of the people renting down there said there was a dog running loose.
Yeah.
And that when they were at this Airbnb.
Interesting, okay. Yeah.
If that's the case, that would be the third complaint. Or fourth complaint. We have 3 complaints in writing, 1 from a Mendon resident, 2 from non-Mendon residents, but hike up at Tamarack Notch on state property. And so they've submitted those letters to the town.
Okay, well, we need to, if we're getting that pushback, we need to get Rod on that. So am I to call Rod, or what's the best way to ask Rod to do that?
Yeah, if you could, you can, or I can call Rod to, he's not.
Would you mind doing, I'm just gonna be gone the next 3 days, so if you wouldn't mind doing it, because I need it first thing in the morning.
I'll give him a call and assist him in submitting a report to us, because he doesn't utilize email that much. So I'll just get his in writing comments about the situation, and then we believe that we have evidence of a truck that might be identified through an enforcement agency on who the owner is.
Okay. And then once we determine who it is, then we would make the decision if we're gonna levy a fine.
Right. The complaints exist mainly at Tamarack Notch, the old former Girl Scout camp. So on state property, and then the dog runs at large down to the South Mendon Road property.
Got it. So, and speaking of the Girl Scout, that property, there's an abandoned vehicle, or it's unauthorized camping up there.
Again?
Well, as of, Chris, was it you that saw it, or was it somebody else that reported that? Somebody else reported it. So, Sarah, do you remember who reported that?
I don't remember. It was reported to Jesse of unauthorized camping and or an abandoned vehicle. We're not quite sure which. So it's, what does the town do about an investigation about that?
So, Alan's here. Have you been up there in the last week or two?
Yeah, so I was finally able to contact the owner to tell them to move the vehicle, and they did. I think Jesse's concern was, in that instance, with it being state property, if the vehicle was abandoned, what would you guys like done with it?
But you found out who owned it and you had contact with them?
Yep, and they picked it up, so it's already gone.
Oh, it's gone.
It's gone the same day I was made.
So were they living in it, or they just left it up there?
He said he was there to hike, so I'm not sure, but.
Huh. Well, so it's no longer there. Okay. Well, that's good news. Problem solved.
So the question was what to do about it if the vehicle ever comes back?
Being on state property, correct?
Not just specifically to this instance, but if there's a vehicle that's up there for, weeks at a time, what would you guys want done with it? Do you guys want it left there? Do you guys want it towed?
I think there is, in the zoning regs, there is something, it's not a direct reference to camping. So I guess it would depend on if you can tell whether or not they're camping. In that case, I could say if it falls under some of the provisions of the zoning regs, you could have the zoning administrator enforce it, but that's not really what you're asking, or like if it's just abandoned. I think the town has it towed
Yeah,
and have the owner, do we have a relationship, or how does the towing company relationship work? What do you guys do?
If we tow, we have a list that we use.
Okay.
But that all comes down to you guys too, because it'd be your guys' prerogative.
Yeah.
okay, well, let's just wait and see if it happens
Yeah.
again and make a
Think
decision
about it
at
a
that
little bit,
point.
yeah. Okay.
But if you ever notice one up there, it's something that, if you just let us know that it's possibly abandoned, or just so we can keep an eye on it. And yeah, because Chris goes up there a lot. and-
Yeah, I know you helped with moving one, so last year there was a camper that needed to be moved up there, right?
There was a complaint last year.
Yeah.
None of the parking lots say no overnight parking.
Oh,
So,
Right, oh, that's right, but we
because
said if
that's
there's signs,
state land.
in that
So,
state
we
line.
don't, and
Yeah.
if you truly go by the state's definition of camping, if they move over a parking spot, every 6 days, they reset their time. So it's a slippery slope.
Is Rouge Corner, I thought that was Rutland City Forest?
That's what I said.
Okay. So,
So, but
we
the-
can talk to them
By
about.
the Girl Scout camp, that's the city.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think we all agree that signs are not beneficial because they
Yeah.
just get shot at.
Let's just get shot. Terrible practice.
That's so Vermont. I don't like what that sign says. Oh dear. Okay, so I think that's everything on the agenda. Do we know how many people are coming to the training tonight, Sarah? Have you heard?
I think there might be 14 in person and then people signing in online.
Great. Okay, well, why don't I'm gonna move to adjourn the meeting.
One quick announcement.
Yep.
I forgot to mention it earlier in announcements, but, it looks like the legislature changed again the, local option tax to give a bigger share to communities. So some point in the future, it may be something we want to learn more or discuss, in the future. I know it's been of interest in the past, but I think starting July 1, or maybe it's September 1, it's going to be 80-20 instead of either 70, I think it was 70-30.
Well, the thing that came up, when that came up, we didn't have 10 businesses. So they said it was too small of a pool that they couldn't share that information with me. So Jim got the information. And I was just a little surprised that there's not more Airbnb and VRBOs registered in our town. So he looked it up and he gave me a number, and I think we should bring it to the town meeting next year if it amounts more. Because we were just saying it could be money we could put aside to match grants or, but there's.
Economic development and hospitality, like in the area.
Yeah, so I definitely want to put that on the agenda for the next town meeting.
Yep.
Okay, all right, I'm going to move to adjourn the meeting at 5:34 PM.
That's something else.
All in favor?
I
Aye.